Hello, I'm Kats, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. So today's topic is going to be the latest iteration of the summon pool, specifically the Spirit summon pool. Or at least that's what I think the theme is, because everyone is Spirit Affinity, but for some reason it doesn't show an actual name to the summon pool. But anyways, I'm going to call it the Spirit summon pool. And yeah, it's kind of interesting that they have not done a headline champion this go round. So it's just kind of a random assortment of 12 legendaries as far as getting the legendary chance from our legendary champions from the Prism Shard. And of course there's a bunch of epics as well. I guess the same amount, exactly 12 epics and 12 legendaries. So taking like a quick scan through all the champions, we have some pretty middle of the road ones and then some great ones. Of course Fabian, kind of helping define the current meta right now with the lockout champions, kind of championing that arguably one of the best ones aside from people who have maybe Crixia, Sabriel, but those are mythicals. I still think Duchess is a little bit, people are a little too down on her in the modern era. She's not as powerful as she once used to be, but I still think she can still, relatively speaking, hold her own. At the very, very least in faction restricted content. At least I still want, maybe that's my bias, I still want a Duchess on my account because Reviver Demon Spawn is definitely hard to come by. Cheshire Cat, really solid, kind of annoying arena nuker he can be, but obviously he definitely excels more so in PvE content. So Hydra specifically, really strong capacity to output damage. Necmothar, one of my favorite champions in the entire game. The Energizer Bunny for Hydra, for Chimera, those types of areas. Super good and super essential for trials and also just getting your team to keep running and get a lot of turns. And then maybe last but not least, Bellar the Lost, good for Chimera trials if you want to go that route, but he's also decent for PvE content because he can work in some sort of poison detonation composition. In terms of the epics, we've got Magnar, the best HP based nuker for epics. Vogoth, a really solid tank. I still use him to this day in a bolster set just to kind of abuse his passive. We've got, what's her name? Stonebound Thisbe, decent champion. Hex, block buffs, good for Hydra progression. This is actually the one epic I do not have yet, but I do want her. But she's gonna kind of, put a pin in her, so to speak, for the future of the Faction Wars expansion, of course, when they add the Argonauts in. But really solid nuke here from what I've seen, and then also has potential to block revive, and I do love block revive champions. But yeah, I would definitely love to get her for when I get my one epic from the summon pool. But Fenax, one of the best epic nukers in the game, especially with the power of his A1, one of the strongest A1s in the entire game in terms of multipliers and overall damage output. Deacon, another kind of mini Necmothar, so to speak. He's got the lead, he's got AoE decrease defense, lots of turn meter manipulation. Ferric and the Fat, arguably the best epic ally attack champion. And then Stag Knight, one of the more, plug and play debuffers that kind of works across the board, although you tend to outgrow him over time, unfortunately, but he's still useful in certain niches. Unfortunately, though, just by my counting here, that means that, maybe 50% chance, maybe 60% chance that you'll get a good epic that you may or may not have, but it's kind of like a 50-50 on the legendaries that you might get in previous fusion, Pelops and Folan, or you might get someone who's relatively underwhelming, like Arashi the Riptide. I've heard Septimus is pretty decent now after the buff, but I haven't really seen much of application of what he can do. It's kind of more just like for the memes, just to kind of do fun things with him, but I haven't seen like a practical use case for Septimus, unfortunately. And then Uzol of the Jade, I've never really seen anyone use him in practice either, but his kit sounds interesting on paper with the extra turns and extra turn synergy. But yeah, the downside here though is that if you're going for any one particular legendary, because there are 12 in the pool on top of the 6% chance you already have to get a legendary, which is already small, the odds of you getting the one that you want is really small, unfortunately, in this particular circumstance. So if you're looking for half of them or most of them or all of them, I guess that could be your best bet. But if you're looking just for one specific one, the odds are definitely not in your favor that you actually get that one if you get a legendary. The chance of legendary is as we'd expect at 6%, i.e. this is basically a sacred shard with a 94% chance to get an epic. And as I always like to mention and remind people, that 94% chance means that 19 out of 20 times when you pull one of these shards, you're probably going to walk away with an epic. So do not be surprised if that is the outcome if you go for the air quotes free summon. And speaking of the air quotes free summon, let's hop over to the tournament tab and take a look at what they are forcing us to do for the air quotes free summon. So we have a repeat challenge tournament, one that we've seen earlier this year by chance, but it is Fire Knight with a single faction of your choice, which is good because it provides a lot of flexibility. It's still a challenge just because you have to find the right synergy within a particular faction, but once you do, or if you can rather, then you can just run that team on whatever stage feels appropriate to you. So as you can see here, I've already done it. I had a lot of energy, or I saved all my energy from yesterday's reset, anticipating that I was going to spend it today, plus the energy I got from Doom Tower, Curse City, Grim Forest, etc., all of that added together, plus the next day's reset basically allowed me to get it done in the first day. So we're already at 2100. I might see about pushing a bit further depending upon how far my opponents here go, but I wouldn't mind getting some Relentless Gear. I haven't won a tournament in a long while, but I digress. Yeah, I thought about it, whether or not I was going to claim this for myself or save it for the next summon pool, but I ultimately decided that I will claim it. As I kind of hinted at earlier, I would like to get an epic in this case. I'd like to get Galatea here, but if I do get fortunate enough, I haven't gotten a legendary from one of these in a couple of months maybe or so. Wouldn't mind getting a Duchess, wouldn't mind getting a Cheshire Cat, stuff like that, but duplicate Fabian would be good as well. So I'm willing to risk it and see if we can get some good RNG in the future. Now, normally I would also spend some time in this video talking about strategies for the Fire Knight Turn Attack tournament, but in this particular instance, since we've covered this before in a previous video, I'm going to put that up in the card in the upper hand right of your screen. I'm also going to put it in the end card of this video, so you can go check out that one if you want a more deep dive into teams that you could be running to try and get this done. And I guess it's important to mention that I didn't even realize that initially, but this is a turn attack, so you are rewarded for doing a higher stage faster, but within reason. Of course, you don't want to be failing your runs, so it is relatively easy to get a decent amount of points in a short amount of runs because it's based on turn attack. And if you were curious, if you wanted to see my team, I opted to go with Dark Elves. Again, in the video that I have linked, you can check it out. Well, at least the previous version of that team in that video, I kind of updated it a little bit, but the core is basically the same. We have Cold Heart in there, we have Lydia in there, Vizix, control for the waves, Roll is our DPS for the waves, and then Blind Seer is jumping in there to kind of be the fail-safe for if anything happens to go wrong. Because what I found out a little bit the last time we did this tournament is that my team was relatively speaking reliable, but a couple of 3% or stacked 3% resists, and then Vizix might die because of the ally protection, and we get a hit by an AoE. Specifically, wave 2 is usually the problem, and then the run kind of falls apart, of course. So having Blind Seer in there kind of protects them. They have a shield, block debuffs, and then of course she can revive. But importantly, and I feel like people kind of forget that she has this in her kit, but she does have turn meter control on her A1, and it's a triple hitter, so she's actually pretty decent in her own right when it comes to Fire Knight. But yeah, in terms of a recommendation, again, I do think this is a fairly accessible tournament because, once again, it is a turn attack, so you don't necessarily have to spend as much energy as you might imagine compared to a normal dungeon-style tournament. And it's Fire Knight, ally attackers bring those in, or counter attackers bring those in. All those types of strategies will work. I definitely don't recommend trying out hard mode unless you have a really high freezing sort of synergy faction thing going on there. I think it's just really easy to do on normal mode. My team there was stage 25, and I'm happy to run that. Of course, you could run stage 20 if you want to be a little bit more energy efficient as well. But again, turn attack, you can kind of you want to do higher stages in this particular instance as high as you can, but quickly as well. You don't want to spend 10 minutes in hard mode 1 versus spending a few minutes in stage 25 of normal mode. But yeah, I would just take a look at some of these legendaries, some of the epics, and see if it's really worth your while to go for it. I think in general, this could be a decent summon pool to pull for, but if you want to save it for a future one, that also makes sense, just because, again, the odds of you getting the one that you might want, if you're looking for a Fabian, the odds of you getting him is very low, even if you get a legendary at all. So just bear that in mind when you're making your decision. All right, that's going to do it for the free-to-play review of the Spirit Summon Pool. Let me know in the comment section down below what your plan is relative to the Summon Pool, and if you have a cool team for the Fire Knight single faction tournament, turn attack tournament, let me know what your team is and how fast you're able to do it in the comment section down below. Once again, if you are stumped and you're looking for some inspiration for teams that you could run, you can check out the video in the upper right-hand corner or at the end screen of this video, and you can see what I talk through about all the different factions and some types of champions to look out for when you're building a team specifically for Fire Knight. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit the like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.